Welcome to Gate City Insider. I'm Rosemary Plybon. It is a parent's job to help his or her child grow and thrive. It is also the goal of a new community initiative called Guilford Basics.
Did you know that 80% of a child's brain development occurs before age 3? Small things can have a huge impact on a child's growth. That's why you need the basics. The Guilford Basics are 5 fun, free, and simple things parents and caregivers can do to help a child's mind grow. The basics are: maximize love, manage stress, show your child love every day. Talk, sing, and point. Talk to your child as you introduce them to the world around them. Count, group, and compare. Talk about numbers, shapes, and patterns as you go about your day. Explore through movement and play. Encourage your child to play and explore. Read and discuss stories. Even just a few minutes a day looking at books can make a big difference. To learn easy ways to bring the basics to life, visit www.guilfordbasics.org.
The Guilford Basics come from a partnership between the Simula Foundation and Ready for School, Ready for Life. Melissa Burrows works with the Simula Foundation. She's been involved with Ready for School, Ready for Life and the Guilford Basics. Welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you.
It's good to be here.
Tell us about the Simula Foundation. How did it first become interested in early childhood?
Well, the Simula Foundation has a 25-year history of being interested in early childhood issues. In fact, about 15 years ago, we invested over $1 million in Guilford County schools to help teachers teach young children to read. And now we know that about 80% of brain development happens by age 3. And in Guilford County, about 50% of the children entering kindergarten are unprepared and in jeopardy of not being able to read on grade level by the 3rd grade. And that is alarming and tragic, and it affects everything from graduation rates to being part of a talented workforce, and can even affect long-term health. So Simula understands the importance of investing in early childhood and has always had a focus on investing in those early years. But it's been in the last 5 years that we've, together with others in the community, begun to focus on building a system of care for children prenatally to 5.
And that's Ready for School, Ready for Life.
That is Ready for School, Ready for Life.
Okay, so explain what you're talking about is happening right now.
Hundreds of people in the community, whether they're healthcare, nonprofit programs and services, folks in the business community, coming together to help build this system of care for children prenatally to 5. We are very familiar with the system for kindergarten through 12th grade. We expect our children to be educated, but yet there's no system for those early years.
So they're agencies, but there's not one system working, kind of linking all those agencies together.
Correct. So Ready for School, Ready for Life is that backbone organization that is convening all of these partners to help build the system of care. And our hope is that all 6,000 children in Guilford County will be better prepared for those best start in life.
So it's a giant undertaking, and it's kind of going on sort of behind the scenes, but what is not behind the scenes are the Guilford Basics. And so that is part of this initiative. So how does that fit in? What exactly is it?
Well, we met Ron Ferguson, and he is a researcher and professor. He's head of the Achievement Gap Institute in Boston, and he developed the Boston Basics. And it's 5 simple ways that parents and caregivers can interact with their children to help give them the best start in life. Very simple, I think we saw the video, very simple ways that you can interact with young children. And we've adapted that for Guilford.
They're really pretty easy things to do. And this is a way to kind of start this work and kind of give parents and caregivers and really anyone who works with children in any capacity a way to get started with this kind of system of care as you're building it.
Yes, absolutely. And the basics are just that. They're simple. It's a consistent common language that everyone can learn and use and and ways that they can help give their own children and all the children in their lives the best start.
Okay, so how are you getting the word out about the basics?
Well, we're really concentrating on social media. So we're on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. You can visit our website and get tips on how to implement the basics in your daily routine with the children in your lives. There are videos that you can watch for each of the 5 basics.
And I think people will see them and they'll say, I mean, I know these things. I mean, I do these things. But it's sort
all
of
common
this a
sense,
reminder.
but
And you have these kind
it
of
is.
cards that are pretty nice too,
Yes.
that you can kind of
Yes.
sit next to the changing table or, you know, next to your child's bed at night and just, have we done these things? And you
Absolutely,
can kind of add them in.
absolutely. And these are in English and Spanish, and we are distributing flyers at baseball games. We're going to be at the Hoppers, the Rockers this summer. So come find us. We also have a group that will be happy to come and speak at any of your local community events, meetings. We'll be out at the Fun Fourth. Just trying to spread the word.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you have a child, so you know, you understand how this makes a difference. I mean, and he's past this stage, but do you remember doing these things?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just
Absolutely.
didn't name them. Like
and I
we're
have
naming
young
them now.
nieces and nephews that are very small, and it's great to be able to implement this in my own family, you know, and share it with my family.
And just because you've been involved with the Simula Foundation for so long and working towards this initiative, and then now Ready for School, Ready for Life, which has been going on for some time as well, to see some things starting to roll out, what is that like for you?
It's so rewarding, and you know, it just reinforces how important, how critical the work that we're doing is, because it makes such a difference.
Well, we're excited about all the work you're doing. Thank you so much for being
Thank you
with
for
us
having us
today.
here and talking about the basics.
Well, we're going to talk a whole lot more about the basics coming up in just a minute. We're going to chat with a basics expert. Yes, he is a local dad with 3 young children. So he's kind of stepping in all the stages of the basics right now. We'll be back right after this quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. Today we're getting an in-depth look at Guilford Basics, provided through a partnership between the Simula Foundation and Ready for School, Ready for Life. We have learned that about 80% of a child's brain development happens before they turn 3 years old. And that really might sound like a whole lot of pressure to new parents. Well, Jeremy Simpson understands that all too well. He's a parent, after all, of 3 young children, 5, 3, and 9 months, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so I know that you are using the basics.
Absolutely.
And you probably were even before you knew it. You just didn't really have a name for it.
Yeah, actually, I found out about the basics in the community, and once, like you said, it's something that we've been doing anyway.
Right.
But to see it structured and actually put on paper and put in a format is, you couldn't help but it adds more emphasis to be able to do that. It's kind of like a reminder.
Right, it's like a checklist kind of for
Absolutely.
the day.
It is.
All right, let's roll one of the, we have some short videos about each one, and we're going to roll these videos so we'll get an idea and then we'll chat about them. So roll Guilford Basics number 1.
Young children are affected by our emotions, both good and bad. That's why we must maximize love and manage stress. To learn more about how to maximize love and manage stress, visit guilfordbasics.org.
Maximize love, manage stress. And I think the maximize love kind of comes naturally for a lot of people. I mean, hug, kiss, tell them you love them. The manage stress part, that can be sometimes, you have to think about that sometimes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, my 9-month is a little girl, baby Ryan, and the manage love or maximize love, that's easy.
No
because,
problem.
Yes, because kisses, hugs, but the thing is with stress, when, you know, the more love that someone feels that they have and know that's accessible, and through the access, you're able to handle that. So that's the way to manage stress, is to know that you're loved. It's a lot of people out in the world that don't know that they're loved, so it's valuable.
And so really, like because you're gonna, you have those moments when you're stressed. What do you do to kind of turn that around and kind of get back into perspective and find the joy and the love in that moment?
Well, especially with social media, phones, and things of that nature, pull up a picture of your family, pull up the kids. When you think about that, it kind of gives you that woo-saw moment to say it's going to be all right. And it lets you know that whatever you're doing or whatever you're going through is for a reason. And being able to see that reason makes a big difference. So you try to instill that into your kids to say, hey, if it's tough out there, whether it's daycare or anything, think about your family, and, kids will tell you all the time, hey, Daddy, I love you. And that's one thing that you can always remember that makes your day a lot better.
Right, and we're all going through the stress.
Absolutely.
Every parent has the same stuff. All right, let's check out Guilford Basics number 2.
Children learn language from the moment they are born. When you talk, sing, and point, your child understands language better. To learn more about the importance of talking, singing, and pointing, visit guilfordbasics.org.
All right, talk, sing, and point. Jeremy, I have heard that this might be a popular one in your house.
Absolutely. We talk, definitely sing, and point. So we're getting ready, every morning we get ready with the kids.
Right.
And like I said, through that, we always play music. We always have sing-alongs. We'll turn on Kids Bop and let them have their moment, and we have like a chorus. So whether we're pointing and dance or pointing in conversation, being able to talk to the kids is very important. Talk to them, you have a full conversation with them. And, anytime you dance and you're laughing, they always have questions. Daddy, what are you doing?
Where'd you learn that, Daddy?
Stop, Daddy.
Is that how old people dance? That's what I get. And in the car, too, I hear that's a typical time where there's a lot of singing and talking happening for you.
Yes, in the car is pretty hilarious. We will ride and do a little sing-along, and it's pretty eventful because once we get to doing that, and especially when it's hot and you have the windows down and people.
Oh yeah, then you get an audience.
And the more audience you give kids, the more they perform, and it's pretty exciting.
That is awfully fun. All right, let's check out Guilford Basics number 3.
Children can learn math long before they enter school. Learning to count, group, and compare is the first step in understanding what numbers mean. To learn more about the importance of counting, grouping, and comparing, visit guilfordbasics.org.
Count, group, and compare. How do you kind of use this one on a daily basis with your 3?
Well, in the second half of the car ride, after the fun, we always make time an important part, especially throughout, like I said, from 9 to 5. So we will point at the street signs and speed limit signs, and they learn numbers. And you say, hey, we're going to school, we'll be there in 12 minutes. And my 5-year-old navigates, so, the younger kids will grasp to what he's saying. I say, we'll be there in 12 minutes. And I say, 12 minutes is 8:12. And they say, okay, 8:12. So when they get to that point, they understand the time. So that like I said, we count signs, we count street signs, we count lights, and we just use normal, everyday things that we all take for granted and instill that in kids' lives, because if they understand it young, then they understand perspective, and it gives them away something to count, something that's exciting.
Are we there yet, Dad? You can say, well, you tell me.
Right.
Right?
So so when we go on trips, before understanding how important it was, they would always say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Every 15 minutes.
Right.
But once you give them a time, it actually helps out.
Or a way to measure. You
Yes.
can watch the street signs. It's counting down on the exit numbers. We've got to get to, whatever exit to take it off.
And that's the way to teach them, teach them about direction. And a lot of people direction challenge, and like I said, we take for granted. But you get an understanding through just counting, pointing, and going from there. So, it's a few things in the basics that add a lot of value throughout
Yeah, they do.
life.
Every day, yeah. All right, let's check out the 4th Guilford Basic.
Active children are active learners. Children learn when they explore through movement and play. Make sure your child has time to play every day. To learn more about how you can help your child explore through movement and play, visit guilfordbasics.org.
Explore through movement and play. Now I know you dance,
Right.
but what else is in the Simpson house y'all are doing?
We go to the park a lot. We go to the park, and especially my kids are very in athletics. We start them very young in sports. So we use that time to, like I said, to understand movement, and we play games, and it teaches them a sense of camaraderie and a sense of family, and we use that through movement, because usually kids, their attention span is very low. So the more they can move while you're instructing or talking or just enjoying each other, they're more in tune. So it adds value to them processing information.
All right, one more Guilford Basics to get to. Let's check it out.
You may not know this, but even babies can enjoy hearing a story. It's never too early to read and discuss stories with your child. To learn more about how to read and discuss stories with your child, visit guilfordbasics.org.
Every day, read and talk about what you're reading. That's an important part of that.
Read every night. After we, the day, the stress and all the things that you have to deal with, we sit down and read a book. We read two types of books. A lot of times I read a lot anyway, so they get to pick out a book, and then when I finish, I read a little bit about what I'm reading, as long as it's kid appropriate. And they explain, they get to ask them questions like they always do. So we'll talk about their book, talk about the basic things that they get to read, and then on my books, it generates a whole lot of questions.
Right.
And through those questions, great conversation, and they learn. Jackson, he asks questions about, Daddy, how was glass made, or these things, because of the books that I read to him, and it sparks his interest, and I'm starting to learn that he's into building and technology.
Right.
And you learn that through reading.
Cool. Jeremy, thank you.
Thank you
We
for having
love
me.
sharing a little bit about your family. Thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing them with us. We need to take a quick break. We're going to learn more about the basics when we come back. In fact, we're going to dive into that reading, because that is a huge part of brain development and growth as a child. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today is all about the basics, the Guilford Basics, an early childhood initiative that suggests 5 simple things that parents and caregivers can do every single day with their children to give them the very best start at life. Adriana Adams is Early Literacy Manager for Ready for School, Ready for Life. Read and discuss stories. That was kind of the final basic we looked at just a few moments ago. And it is such an important one. It's a big one.
Yes, very, very important, especially at the earliest stages of life. And I think it's something that parents know to read to their children, but they're not always reading with their children.
Okay, now you're going to have to explain that. If you have a newborn, how are you reading with your child?
Right, so when they're really young, it can be a little confusing. How much are they getting out of this time that I'm spending with them reading? But it's really another way to expose them to a rich vocabulary. Okay. So looking for books that have what we call rare words in them, words that your child might not hear other places, is going to help. Looking for books with great pictures so that you have even more chance to expose them to new words, and point to those items and share that with the child.
And expressive. Wait, you should be expressive when you're reading to them, I imagine.
Sure, the more expressive you are, the more engaged that they'll be, especially when you're talking about reading to a very young baby. And they're very attuned to mom, dad, caregiver's voice. It's the thing that's really guiding them through their world, because
as to whether things are safe and good and scary.
Yes, and engaging. Making your voice interesting, changing your inflection is very important.
Okay, so we do have some tips, so we can go ahead and put those up while you're talking about them. But when you're reading to newborns, particularly because that's a challenge. I mean, I remember doing it, but thinking, how do I choose a book? And are they even getting anything out of this?
Sure.
And sometimes it was just for me, it felt like, which was okay too. I needed that time.
Sure. So for the youngest kids, you can think of it too as another way to engage some of the other basics. Maximizing love. Reading is a great time for that. Snuggling, cuddling, holding. Letting them know that reading is fun and it's a sweet time for them, and that they should enjoy it, is setting you up for success as they get older. And then as they kind of progress, making sure that you are pointing out new words, helping them learn words. Here's where we bring in that talking and pointing as well.
Counting.
Yes, counting and grouping and comparing is great, but particularly pointing at things at the page and naming what those are is going to give your child a rich vocabulary, which eventually is going to help them learn to read more words.
Let's talk about reading to a little bit older ones, the toddlers. We can move on to those. They're seeing a little bit more. They're understanding. They maybe can tell some of the story with you even.
Sure. So continuing to point and continuing to bring in new words is really an important thing. Also bringing in that exploring and movement and play. If you can engage your child in that way while you're reading, feel free to read. And then when you're going to learn a new word like tumbled, put the book down and tumble with them. I mean, it can be really valuable.
Don't be too serious. That was one of the tips.
Yeah, make sure that you're really enjoying that fun time. I think for dads especially, this is a really wonderful time for them to learn that they can be physical with their child during reading time and really engage them in that way. And I've seen it make a big difference in a lot of dads, and they want to engage in reading time more when they can move.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that makes me think of there's a tickle monster book that tells you tickle their feet and tickle their tummy, and that's a fun one. What kind of impact have you seen personally reading to newborns and toddlers, and how has it changed them?
Well, I can say that I get to engage with parents in the community and lead some reading workshops. So I've heard the biggest thing for me has been that feedback from dads who say, I'm enjoying this more now, now that I have some concrete ways to do it. And then in my own life, I have 3 children myself. My oldest one just took her EOG, her first one. She's in 3rd grade, and I can definitely tell you that the biggest difference in her, she almost got a perfect score. She missed 1.
Wow.
But she loved to point at things, and she loved to read. We spent a lot of time learning new words through books. Books are a tool. And then you can take it out into the community, and you can learn more through pointing and talking about what you're seeing. Thinking of yourself, like if you have ever tried to learn a new language, the thing that's going to help you is associating the words you're hearing with an object or a concept. And so doing that for your child is just going to keep continuously building that vocabulary, making it easier for them to decode or read a word when they come to that reading time.
You're really talking about confidence here, building their confidence too for school and learning and growth and new things in life in general.
Sure. Confidence and knowing that you're instilling in them this sense that they can move through the world, they can ask questions. As you ask questions of them, they feel like they can confidently ask questions of you, and then their future teachers as well.
So we've talked about getting ready for school and how important the reading is just even before kindergarten, and then of course that 3rd grade is all important too.
Sure.
How is that really? How do we make the jump from that to what might their career be, and why is that so important right there? These early reading skills.
Sure, we're really talking about when a child is young, pre-literacy, but we don't recognize as much how important those pre-literacy skills feed into the literacy, the reading. And then what you said, really, confidence is key. When a child knows that they're able to learn something new and master it, it really does set them up for success in life. So going beyond getting great test scores is, of course, going to open up opportunities for you, but also you having that confidence to know I have a place in this world that I'm moving through. I can learn new things, and then I can use those new things is setting you up for that future career success.
Love that. How can people get involved with Guilford Basics or Ready for School, Ready for Life?
They can go to our website. Guilford Basics has a website, and then Ready for School, Ready for Life does as well. We are looking for people. If there's a parent out there or an educator who would love to get involved in this, it's simple, but it also could use some what we call scaffolding in the educational world. We might need to connect with parents and really give them some concrete skills. So we are looking for people to get involved and volunteer in that way. So they can definitely reach out to us through the websites.
As a parent, how do you feel being a part of this and seeing this kind of develop before your eyes?
Really exciting. I can say that my mother was a huge influence in the way that I parent my children. And she did so many of these things before we put a name to it.
Right.
And so what I love is this idea that no matter where people are starting from, no matter what their background or what their childhood was like, we're giving them some common language that can then give them also some skills that they can enhance and use in their homes to give everybody a real equitable approach about giving everybody that good basic first start.
Adriana, thank you so much for sharing a little bit with us. Those websites, if you'd like to find out more, by the way, guilfordbasics.org. All the videos are there for you. Also, getreadyguilford.org. Thank you to Adriana, Jeremy, and Melissa, and thank you for watching Gate City Insider. We will see you back here next time.